Welcome to the Bema, Melissa Lewis.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain. I've got a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain. I'm singing, just singing in the rain. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain. I've got a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain. I'm singing, just singing in the rain. Yeah. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain. I'm singing, just singing in the Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain. I've got a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain. I'm singing, just singing in the rain. Singing in the rain. Da, 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 da,
Please welcome to the Bema, Reverend Dr. Keith Cost.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. And aren't we all happy that we're not walking in the rain, even though we might be singing in the rain, but let's also bless the rain, right? What a blessing it is that it's here and it's doing its job to refurbish our water supply here in the land of Los Angeles, California. Happy Sunday, everyone. So good to see you all. Before we dive into why we're here and what we're here to do, we're going to release anything we're hanging on to that's not serving us. In our philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the science of mind, we live life with the intention and the objective and the purpose to align ourselves with our divine nature and to release anything and everything in our life that doesn't align with that in our consciousness. So we're going to kick off a song called I Release and I Let Go by the one and only Ricky Byers-Beckwith and Dr. Michael Beckwith. That's going to be sung by our musicians that we're so happy to have here today. Andy Belling on piano and singing along in backup, our music director. And the one and only Melissa Lewis. Let's all join in together and sing I Release and I Let Go. And please feel free to join in from home.
You've got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. In the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa and Andy, and each one of you. So we come together on Sunday mornings to remember who we are as divine beings. Here at the Los Angeles Church of Religious Science, which is who we were for 30 years or 25 of those years, now known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. We come together to, as I said, remember who we are as divine beings. We practice the faith, the philosophy, and the way of life known as the science of mind primarily. The essence of this teaching is that there's only one thing taking place in life, one activity, one mind, one power. The reason that is of significance in this way of living is because we believe there's only one God. That power is an impersonal power that is infinite by nature, and that we each get to use it by means of our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and interactions with the very thing itself. Another word for G-O-D. Right? And so not only we use it in those ways, but we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law, and as a result of that, the things that we think and believe and know ourselves to be then show up in life as our life experiences. So if we want to change our life experiences, the way that we do that is by paying attention to our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions with life itself. The vision statement for our community is supporting individuals finding a personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Today I invite each of us to open our mind, to open our heart, to open our being to a spiritual awakening. In this context, this teaching, this way that we look at life, a spiritual awakening is a remembrance that we are one with the infinite sea of consciousness, and that everything and anything that we could ever desire to experience or desire to be already exists there. And so the awakening is our remembrance that it's there, and our conscious participation to surrendering to it letting itself be known to us in a new way. And so the journey of life, of those awakenings happening, and then those awakenings happening, and then those awakenings happening, are a result of that surrendering, of that opening to itself. And as that happens, and as we choose to be conscious of that happening, it provides a space for us to be more personally self-empowered, meaning that we know who we are, that we have confidence in that act of surrender. We have confidence in the willingness to think anew. So who today in this room or watching us virtually online would like to think anew in regards to something in your life? So I'm going to assume that all of you are saying yes to that. And today is the opportunity that we get to do that. And we get to do that simply just by opening up and seeing life anew, by feeling that life is anew. We open our service with a ritual every Sunday morning called Calling in the Light. And before, we've been doing that online, and then a different ritual for our in-person service, but today I wanted to take us back to some old school habits, if you will, or old school ritual. And we're going to do that today. In the philosophy, faith, way of life, light is considered one of the qualities of the divine, along with peace and power and beauty and joy and life and wisdom. I'm a big fan of acronyms. The acronym that I've created for light is Living in God's Healing Truth. And so I invite you today to open yourself up to what that may mean for you, and then to tune in to these other qualities of the divine as we light the candle and go through this ritual. So Andy and Melissa are going to start us off with a little bit of music for it, and then we'll have a moment as I light the candles. And so they'll guide you through it as a sing-along or a call and response song.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. I am love.
I am love.
I am peace.
I am peace.
In my heart.
In my heart.
I am free.
I am free.
I am spirit.
I am spirit.
I am soul.
I am soul.
All together.
All together.
We are whole. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. We are calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light of love.
And so it is.
So it is.
And so we light this candle today. As we go further into this ritual, with the purpose of this ritual being to draw into our gathering this morning a more conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths and all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. We honor the qualities of the divine that we're each imbued with, which include peace, a state of inner calm so complete that nothing can disturb it. Power, the energy by which everything lives. Beauty, the loveliness of the infinite beheld in its creations by the eye of humanity. The spiritual human beholds this divine loveliness everywhere. Light. Ernest Holmes defines light as in flashes of illumination, inspired have seen into the very center of reality and have brought back a distinct impression of what they've seen and felt. Life, the animating principle of being. that inner something that makes everything live. The next quality is love, which is the self-givingness of spirit through the desire of life to express itself in terms of creation. Love is a synonym for God. Joy, the emotion excited by the expectancy of good. Gladness, delight and exultation. And the last quality is wisdom, which is known as intuitive knowing, spiritual intuition, the voice of the divine within as the source of our understanding, a mental action based on the oneness of life and the pureness of spirit within. And finally, we look at this light, this flame, as the healing light. And so we take a moment. I invite you to think of anyone that you would either like to silently or audibly put into the light of the healing flame so that they may experience the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. And so it is. Thank you all. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you to each one of you. Melissa Lewis is, as is Andy Belling, a longtime friend and peer and beloved in my heart. And as long as I've known Melissa, there's one song that she sings. She sings many wonderful songs, but there's one song that I personally listen to on a loop over and over and over and over and over again. You can sense the emotion that comes up for me as I say that. The song originally is written, I believe, and performed by Amy Grant, and who just received her Kennedy Center honors, which was so beautiful, and I've known her from 100 years back. But this song really speaks to the ability that we each have to ask the question of life itself, and then listen to the answer. The title is I Don't Know Why, and I present to you Melissa Lewis and Andy Belling.
This is one of those moments when all that really matters is crystal clear. We are woven together by whatever threads of life that have brought us here. We are stripped of all our layers. We are getting to the core. Tell me something real and nothing more, 'cause I don't know why, and I don't know how. Well, I don't know where. Maybe all I know is now. So I'm here between the bookends of everything that was and what will be. There's a wealth of information, not so many answers, it seems to me. So I face the unfamiliar, nothing is clear. Only blinding faith can carry me from here, 'cause I don't know why, and I don't know how. Well, I don't know where. Maybe all I know is now.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Andy. You know, there are some songs in life that just take you home, right? And that song does that for me. And I can feel it within every fiber of my being. And it takes me back to every time I've heard it and the journey I've been on. And we've all been on those journeys. Hi, Susan. We've all been on these journeys of life. And we all have more steps in front of us on the journey of life. But speaking of home, it feels good to be back in ours, right? And so, yeah. So we have dates all the way through June to be here for once a month. So let's continue to support each other and to be here and be in person so that we can look into each other's eyes and feel the presence of the divine that exists by means of each one of us and honor the light of God that exists by means each and every one of us. And let's say a big hello to those of us, not those of us, those that are online today. We have a turnout of, I think, 5 on Facebook and 10 on Zoom. I was just checking in with Robert in the back on that. So a big hello to those of you that are joining us in the virtual realm, and a big hello to those of you that will join us at a later date when you watch us from whatever platform you access us on that. So, and also a big thank you to those of you that are new here today. We have people that are joining us today that are new with us or haven't been here in a while, and thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure to be able to share both this physical space and this energetic space together. I would like to begin today my message with sharing some beautiful words that a friend of mine shared that's written by Michael Marone, and it's this. You may think that you are completely insignificant. Before we do, let's give Travis a hand. Travis has worked so hard to give us the best audio here, and it's not always easy. You guys were hearing that feedback a while ago. We don't get a chance to do a big rehearsal. We come in, and then there's new electronics that impacted, and there's just a lot of stuff. So Travis, thank you for all that you do for that on that. Ready for the reading? You may think that you are completely insignificant in this world, but someone drinks coffee from the favorite cup that you gave them. Someone heard a song on the radio that reminded them of you. Someone read the book that you recommended and plunged headfirst into it. Someone was touched by a movie you suggested. Someone smiled after a hard day's work because they remembered the joke that you told them. Someone loves themselves a little bit more because you gave them a compliment. Never think that you have no influence whatsoever. Your trace, which you leave behind with every good deed, cannot be erased. I wanted to open with that today and share it with us for a couple of reasons, to remind us all that whether what we're doing is considered a good deed or not, our simple presence in life and the way that we use the power of the divine indeed makes a difference on our journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Today we are moving into the second chapter of the book, The Science of Mind, and in the first 4 chapters of the book are considered the foundational components of this teaching, philosophy, faith, and way of life. The second chapter is titled, The Way It Works. The reading that I shared with us a moment ago, I believe, speaks to that essence of life and that it works, that our footprint in life, in fact, cannot be erased, in as much as, yes, it may disappear from the sands of time physically, but energetically, it continues to move on and on and on. Why does this matter to us? Because it gives us the opportunity to remember who we are as divine beings and to become more cognitively and consciously and purposefully aware of how we're using the power that we're each imbued with in life. Our theme for the month of January is renewal. It's restoration, renewal, and revival. Now, I love that, and of course, I created it. And because I think at this kickoff to the new year, if you will, it's important for us to live in a state of restoration, to remember, to take care of ourselves, to restore our remembrance of how we use the power and the power that is imbued within us. Renewal, meaning that to engage in the opportunity to make anew our awareness of the thing itself that exists within us. The thing itself was chapter 1 that we did address last week. And revival in the sense that it's important for us to remember to celebrate the power that is within us and to share it and to give it and do that in a great sense of joy and exaltation and celebration. But hearkening back on last week so that we can build a foundation for the second chapter, the thing itself. Well, what is the thing? Well, clearly it's a synonym for the word God, but it's also impersonal, unfailing, infinite, all creative, unlimited, omniscient, omnipresent. It's one power. And at the same time, it's all of those things. It's you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and it's me. And it's not just you, and 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 me, but it is its thing as all of us, fully expressed at all times. Now, we could put a period on that and call it a day, because that in and of itself is a magnificent spiritual truth. And it's one that I believe that we're each called to remember day by day, thought by thought, action by action, reaction by interaction. But more importantly, that not only called to remember it, we're called to act in accordance to it. That there is nothing that we have to do or nothing that we can do to be more of it. And yet, there's so much more we get to do to express it. But we're not creating more of it. It's already there. It's beckoning us to express itself in a greater way than ever before. The thing, which I think is just such a fabulous word for God, personally, the thing works for us by working through us. And it is us, always. It cannot work any other way. It spreads, as Ernest Holmes says, it spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. And what it's saying to us, this is my interpretation of what it's shouting is, loosen up, Louise, lighten up, let go, and surrender to me and let me do my thing through you. But unfortunately, so often we get in the way. We were told in the Bible or some other place, I can't remember completed where it came from, but it said, what we're called to do is to get our bloated nothingness out of the way. I like that too. Now, we all know how it feels to be bloated, right? Some of us maybe today. But what it's telling us is that the bloatedness of our ego, really is what it's speaking of in life, is taking up space and energy that really is unnecessary. So saying, get that bloated nothingness, it has no significance, away and open up to a recognition of what's there and then let it do its thing through us. Today, as we open up to restoration, remembrance, and revival, right? Isn't that the theme? I forget it. Renewal. Restoration, renewal, and revival. What we're being called to remember as one of the basic tenets of this teaching is that at all times there is a universal, impersonal, spiritual principle awaiting us. And that it's responding to us, as Ernie tells us, by corresponding. And that should we desire to experience more of the thing itself, our role isn't to attempt to coerce it to work differently, because we can't. Our role is to align more with the qualities of the divine that we're already imbued with and let them play themselves out in our world. In other words, to choose to be the peace of the divine that already exists, to embody the power of life and play it out through our lives, to acknowledge the beauty that is not just at the external level, but that is internally. To live joy as a way of life. To be the light, the life, the love of God. And most importantly of all, to remember that we are imbued with this wisdom, that if we would but just listen and open, it will guide us where we need to go each step of the way. It works through us and is working through us no matter what. And no matter what we put into it or place upon it, because it responds to our thoughts, our beliefs, our deeds, our actions, our reactions, our interactions. But the most glorious part of it all is that we have a choice. We get to make a choice as to what we place upon it. We get to have a choice as to what we choose to be in life. We have a choice as to how we act, react, interact, and what deeds that we do in life. The great Gene Houston, in the foreword to the book, The Science of Mind, writes, evolution is seen to follow involution, wherein we discover that our minds are stargates, our minds are stargates, our bodies cells of mysteries that give us the keys to an emerging phase of our existence. Why does this quote matter? Because I believe that when we are drawn into a philosophy, faith, way of life, a teaching such as this, we are internally saying yes to being a conscious evolutionist, to knowing that we know that we now, that we know, that we know, that we know the power that exists within us, the opportunities that we have to use our mind, and to think in more forward and progressive ways than ever before, ultimately creating experiences for ourselves and life itself that is reflective of the state of mind that we're deciding to align with that's actually already within us, to evolve into a greater expression of who and what we are. Evolution is seen to follow involution. Well, what is involution? For years, it threw me on that. And even when I took my ministerial test, I remember thinking, I won't say what I was thinking. Let's just say that in the middle of my ministerial test, I got up and walked out of the room. I had to take a breath. I would have taken a shot of vodka, but it wasn't out there. But I took a breath and came back in and realigned my thinking. Involution means to invoke the law, to set the law into motion. It's, in its most practical sense, it's planting the seed of thought, of whatever it is we desire to experience, into the creative mind of the universe. And then open up and wait. So often we plant that seed wanting to set a timeline, a timer, a clock, an expectation as to when we want the desired results. But it doesn't work that way because it's impersonal. It simply responds by corresponding. So then, what are we here to do? We're here to open up to a new way of thinking around it. In the book, The Science of Mind, continuing on this vein of the thing itself and the way it works, it's written, we think of metaphysics, the practice of the science of mind, perhaps as something that only the most profound thinkers have known about. But we should remember that we are also thinkers. The profound thought of all ages has stood in awe of life itself, realizing that here is a power and a potentiality, the highest possibilities of which the human intellect cannot fathom. Universal principles are never respecters of persons. The universe has no favors or favorites. Therefore, it's written, and let him that is athirst come, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. Is there anywhere in your mind where you think the universe may play favorites? Is there anywhere in your mind that you may possibly think that there's someone that has the ability to think higher thoughts than you? And if so, let it go today. Ernest Holmes tells us that spirit has placed the stamp of individuality upon itself and called it you. So today, on this date, January 15th in the year 2023, let's each together come to an agreement and an intention and a decision to let go of any desires or attachments or feelings that anyone is better than us or that the universe provides for anyone greater than it does for us. And to remember that it's all the same for each one of us. And that we each have freedom, the freedom of choice. If we all are aligning to be evolutionists, conscious evolutionists, then it's important to remember that we pay attention to what we choose. Gary Zukav tells us, and you all know this is my favorite quote of all time, choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. Consciously is far better than unconsciously. Been there, done that, Zukav says. And then the best part comes, he goes. And choice is the second greatest gift we've ever been given. Second only to the gift of life itself. So today, let's remember that we have freedom in how we choose to think, to be, to live, to use the power. Holmes writes this in regards to freedom. To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create the human in bondage and leave them bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we all call God. To suppose that God could make the human as an individual without leaving them to discover themselves would be to suppose an impossibility. So what is bondage? Well, we know in its traditional sense, bondage is enslavement, restriction, oppression. Are we talking about physical bondage here? No. What we're addressing is that which is metaphysical, beyond the physical world. It's that which we may be enslaved in our memories, our beliefs, our thoughts, the stories that we tell ourselves. And today we're called to let those go. To ask ourselves, I don't know why, I don't know how, but I know that all I have is now. This now that we have, and then that we have, and that we then have, and then we that have, is an opportunity for each of us to think anew, to let that unencumbered power do its thing, unencumbered through us. And we do that by setting the intention and having the willingness to see God, the thing itself, through a new light, to open up to a new idea as to the possibility of the power itself. The great Carl Jung says that it happens sometimes that he has to say this to one of his patients. Your picture of God or your idea of immortality is atrophied. Consequently, your psychic metabolism is out of gear. Now, I love that because for any of us in the room, have we ever felt as if our psychic metabolism was out of gear, meaning that our mind wasn't operating in the sense where everything was working together, thus having the experiences that we desire in life, that we feel disconnected from life itself? That's what Jung is telling us. And he's saying, well, the reason that that happens is because, in essence, we have an old idea of the power itself. An anthropomorphic, if you will, for many of us, meaning that we still hold on to some old idea that the power itself potentially, or does, have human characteristics. But you're not drawn to this way of life if that's what you believe. Fundamentally, this philosophy, this faith, this way of life, this way of living contradicts that old ideology. But yet sometimes those ideologies we hang on to without even knowing that we're hanging on to them. We're living life in a state of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is where People hold a core belief that is very strong in their life. And when they're presented with an evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted because there's such a hold, an enslavement to the old ideology. It's important then to know that that enslavement would create a feeling that is uncomfortable, a feeling where the gears are not meshing and working together. That is what cognitive dissonance is. And because it's so important to protect that core belief, the individual will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit with that core belief. But you and I have the opportunity today to find a new belief, one that works for us individually as to what the power is, and to stay focused on that, and to trust that, and to affirm that until that then becomes our new belief. How do we do that? We do that through faith. We do that through believing that the power itself is impersonal, that the law itself does not play favorites, by opening up to spiritual awakenings, by having, as what's called in Eastern philosophies, an enlightenment. The great Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that enlightenment is when a wave realizes it's the ocean. Today's the day that we get to decide, are we ready for that new way of thinking? Are we willing to see abundance in the universe? Can we know that we cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach, and yet the earth continues to share with us and provide untold riches, and to know that the very air itself is vibrant with power, potentiality, and possibilities? I invite you today to ask yourself, what is possible in your life? What's possible to let go of? What fear? What doubt? What uncertainty? And where are you willing to open up and let the thing itself make itself known to you in a new way? Where in your life are you willing to call out those old ideas? An old idea of the thing itself, the power, and let it go. And then just be open. And to remember that the nature of life is to unfold with effortless ease. Earlier we sang the song, I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life. We declared that no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. Today's the day that we get to begin to see the light internally, and to let that flickering flame of the light be the guide for us. And as we go deeper and deeper into the journey of the light, all of the stuff that has seemed to matter will disappear. And life itself becomes anew. And so as we continue on this journey today, walking the path, rethinking our life, opening up to new definitions, let's remember that the journey is going to be interesting ahead. And that the universe will constantly remind us that we are being called to think anew. The great Brené Brown tells us that the universe is not short on wake-up calls. We're just quick to hit the snooze button. Let's not let today be the day that we hit the snooze button. Let's be willing to have the bravery to open up and to trust in a new way, to let the thing do its thing through us, and to know who we are as divine beings. Because as divine beings, we're fabulous, we're perfect, we're whole, we're complete. Thank you, and so it is. I'm going to invite back to the bema Melissa and Andy. You guys ready for music that you know? I chose this song with purpose and intention, and as you're hearing the lyrics to it, certainly you can tap into the memories that you have of this song. I'm sure that most of us in the room have heard it for many years, right? But I chose it with the very specific purpose to reinforce the message of the thing itself and the way it works through us. And so when you hear the words, which are the title, Lean on Me, that's what I want you to think of, leaning on the power inside.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road, but I'll share your load. If you just call on me, you just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. You just call on me. You just call on me. You just call on me when you need a friend. You just call on me.
Thank you, Melissa Lewis and Andy Belling. And while we're at it, let's all wish Andy Belling a happy birthday. One's coming over and saying, happy birthday, Andy Belling. So I want to wish a big thank you, or extend a big thank you to all of you for being here today, and all of you that are watching online, as we've acknowledged already, but we're going to continue to acknowledge a big thank you to Travis Smith for what he does for us audibly and visually and technologically as well. A big thank you to Robert Hensley in the back of the room back there, who's handling social media for us. Thank you, Robert, for all that you're doing to support us. Thank you to our beloved musicians for being here today. Thank you to them. A shout out, a hello, and a hallelujah to Melissa's daughters that are in the back. For they're so patient and tolerant for coming here with her. So you can see they're having so much fun, and they're so happy to be here. So ignoring us with every bit of intention that they have. I love it. I love that. I love that conviction that they have. Like, I will not look at him. So I just love that. Right? Thank you to those of you that are joining us online as well. Know that some things that are going on here is that we'll be back in person once a month. Those dates are on our website and our weekly e-newsletter. You can sign up for those if you're not receiving them. They go out the first part of every week. You can look there. Wednesday morning at 8:30, we have an online guided meditation. You're welcome to join. And that's every Wednesday morning at 8:30 through Zoom. It's about a 20-minute meditation that is a tool to anchor ourselves into the awareness and remembrance of who we are in life itself. We have, I don't know if it's going to be monthly, but we have been partnering with Congregation Kol Ami to do lunch packing for a homeless shelter in town. That took place yesterday. A couple of people from here were there, and they packed 500 plus sandwiches, I believe, to hand out. So that's a really wonderful thing to know that that is happening as well. Right? It's a great thing to do. So open to any ideas. So now it's time for us to participate in conscious giving to support our community financially. Robert's going to hand over a bag, and we just invite you to pass it around, and feel free to support our community that way, as well as you can go online and give in that way. And so as that's happening, let's just remember that we live in a universe that is abundant. If you want to give electronically, you can go to our website and or our app in the App Store. In the Bible, it's written, to be a good giver, you must be a good receiver. And I know that we've all freely received today, so let's be open to giving, and giving in the sense of participating in the good and the abundance of the universe. And so I invite you to affirm with me these words. Divine love, moving through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I'm thankful for the good in my life, and I give it and receive it with intention. And so it is. Our conscious giving song is titled, Love is My Decision, remembering that love is the self-givingness of spirit. And so Andy and Melissa will take us through that, and I invite you to sing along.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision, and no one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision. It's my decision right here, right now. It's my decision right here, right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful. Andy, will you give me some not underground music, but some undertone music? Yo, 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 give me some underground music. We're going to play with the spirit and let it flow. Yo, yo. You know how much I'd love to do that. Okay. All right, so I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take a deep breath in, and exhaling out through an open mouth. And do that with intention. Let's do that together. Just letting go. I invite all of you watching online to do the same. To feel yourselves sitting in the seat, butt in chair, feet on floor, feeling the sensation of what's moving through your body right now. even if there are aches or pains or discomfort. Let's give space to the feeling, because that feeling is a reminder to us of life itself. It's pulsating through us and as us. It's the gift of life. Let's inhale together again. And exhale. Allowing ourselves to go deeper into our inner awareness. Giving yourself permission to see on this internal journey the flickering flame of the light of the divine. It is the thing itself. Remembering to breathe as we inhale and exhale, just feeling the presence in a new way. And I believe it's saying to us, I'm here. For you, as you. So use me. Use me with intention, with purpose, with joy, with exaltation. And let me, the power itself, guide you on your journey. And in so doing, you will have that spiritual awakening and an awakening and an awakening and then an awakening. As it will show each of us time and time again that its nature is unfailing. Responding by corresponding to our awareness of our awareness of our awareness of it. And so in this depth of awareness, we make covenant with ourselves that to the best of our ability as we go forward, we indeed let love be our decision. This love that we speak of includes the human emotion, but what we really speak of is the self-givingness of the thing itself, whose desire is to create more of itself out of itself, and the way that it does that is through you and through me. And so once again, we let go. And let today be the day that we let go of any old ideas or beliefs. And open up to the thing itself, guiding us to a new belief, a new definition, a new willingness to see, feel, and be things anew. So this meditation and treatment is an example of the act of restoration. It's a remembrance of the ability to renew ourselves. And then the opportunity that we have to step into revival meaning to live joyously, abundantly, and sharing the essence of life itself with all of life itself. And so we give of who and what we are, freely, lovingly, compassionately, willingly, knowing that as we give, the universe responds in like. And so we saddle up ready for the adventure. The spiritual experimentation of being a conscious evolutionist. And it starts right now. Take a deep breath in and exhale and say together, all is well, and so it is. Amen. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Andy and Melissa are going to take us out. Have a great day. Share your light and continue to be who you are. Namaste.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing.